The Bush administration has been one of the most secretive, closed administrations in American history. Our nation's progress has been stifled by a system corrupted by millions of lobbying dollars contributed to political campaigns, the revolving door between government and industry, and privileged access to inside information, all of which have led to policies that favor the few against the public interest. An Obama presidency will use cutting-edge technologies to reverse this dynamic, creating a new level of transparency, accountability, and participation for American citizens. Barack Obama. How are we doing on that transparency thing, Ari?
Well, I think the best headline for 100 days is that Dick Cheney is criticizing President Obama on transparency.
Yeah, I know.
That's not The Onion. That's real. Dick Cheney is experiencing what most of us feel every day. Information is not power, but information asymmetry is a type of power. And Dick Cheney wants to make arguments about public policy, but as a citizen feels that he doesn't have all the information he would like to govern his democracy. And the news today is Dick Cheney's right about this one. They should declassify the rest of the OLC memos. According to ProPublica, there's about 28 that are still classified. And within reason, they should do a scrub and declassify what they can from the documents Mr. Cheney is referring to regarding the outcome of torture. You bet. So it's interesting to see a once very powerful and secretive person thrust into the role of citizen activist and asking for declassification, but he's right, and we need it. The transparency agenda we've seen from Obama has been very good in a number of areas. I define transparency of government as being open to the public, the press, and the other two branches of government. On the public side, we have seen swift reform of the freedom of information policies. We've seen cooperation with a lawsuit from the ACLU on them, as we all know from the torture memos. And we've seen a new standard, what they are calling a presumption of disclosure standard, which is different from what we had under the prior administration for a whole range of FOIA requests. So for the public, if you want that information from the government, it's very strong and swift improvement. For openness to the press, we're at least seeing a broader conception of the press that's finally catching up with the evolving media landscape we have in this country. The president at press conferences calling on a wider array of journalists, including, in one instance, someone who writes for an online-only website. That shouldn't be a big deal, but it was a big deal in D.C., and it's a step, as well as calling on more African-American media that are covering the White House, and hosting the first real live citizen town hall, taking questions from the real citizen media, from the public. In openness to the other two branches, while I'd give basically an A or a B on those first two categories, Obama gets an F on being open to the other two branches. In being open to the courts, we have seen the invocation of the same hyper-secretive Cheney state secrets doctrine in a range of cases that basically tells the courts you cannot even oversee what the government defines as secret. And if you apply the state secrets privilege that way, without even private court review, without even any third branch oversight, then you're basically letting the government wall off whole areas by just stamping its security, stamping its state secrets. That's wrong. That's not the way the state secrets privilege operated most of the time before the Bush administration, and the Obama administration is wrong to make those arguments. Briefly, I'll just close by saying those arguments are being made in cases about rendition and illegal surveillance. So what we start as a conversation about secrecy or information power turns very quickly into a conversation about whether the government can render people and torture them, whether the government can spy on people, whether that's people in this room or people down the block who are supposed to be doing oversight of those same intelligence operations, because we have reports of that kind of political wiretapping right now. But we won't get to the bottom of any of those if we don't have openness towards both other branches of government. So transparency in this administration in the first 100 days, A, B, and F.